The military transport bus rolled to a stop just after sunrise, and Sergeant Maya Carter stepped onto American soil carrying nothing but a worn duffel bag, a folded flag, and dreams of finally hugging her 2 children again. 12 months overseas had changed her. The long patrols, sleepless nights, and constant danger had left invisible scars, but every lonely moment had been worth enduring because she believed her sacrifices would give her children, Ethan and Lily, a better future. During deployment, Maya had arranged for a trusted neighbor to watch them while military assistance covered her mortgage until she returned. She counted the days, imagining birthday parties she had missed and bedtime stories she would finally tell again. But as the taxi turned onto her quiet suburban street, her smile slowly disappeared. Something was terribly wrong. The cheerful blue house she had worked years to buy was gone. In its place stood an empty lot surrounded by yellow caution tape, piles of broken concrete, shattered lumber, and construction equipment. Maya jumped out before the cab fully stopped. Her heart pounded as she stared at the vacant ground where countless family memories had once lived. The old oak tree where Ethan had learned to ride his bike was gone. Lily's little swing had vanished. Everything had disappeared. A construction worker approached carefully and explained that the abandoned property had been condemned after months of unpaid taxes and legal disputes. It had been demolished only 2 weeks earlier. Maya stood frozen. "There has to be a mistake," she whispered. "My children were living here." The worker looked confused. "A social services vehicle picked up 2 kids months ago," he replied. Maya's knees nearly gave out. She rushed to the county office only to discover another devastating truth. Someone had forged paperwork claiming she had abandoned her children. Because no one could reach her overseas and official letters were sent to the now vacant address, temporary custody had been granted while authorities searched for relatives. Maya felt as if the battlefield had followed her home. She demanded answers, but records showed every legal notice had been ignored. She knew she had never ignored anything. Someone had carefully planned this. That evening, exhausted and desperate, Maya visited the elderly neighbor who had promised to watch Ethan and Lily. Tears filled the woman's eyes as she confessed she had suffered a severe stroke shortly after Maya deployed. During months of hospitalization, she had been unable to contact anyone. Her estranged nephew had secretly handled the property and stopped paying the mortgage while stealing the military support payments intended for Maya's family. Before anyone realized what was happening, the bank foreclosed, taxes went unpaid, and the house was condemned. Maya felt anger unlike anything she had experienced in combat, but one question mattered more than revenge. "Where are my children?" The neighbor handed her a faded photograph and a name. "A couple named Daniel and Grace Foster took them in. I heard they refused to let the children enter foster care." Maya immediately drove across town. Through the window of a modest white home, she saw Ethan helping a little girl with homework, while Lily laughed in the kitchen beside a woman baking cookies. For one breathtaking moment, Maya simply watched. Her children looked healthy, loved, and safe. Then fear struck her heart. What if they no longer remembered her? Gathering every ounce of courage, she walked to the front door and knocked. The smiling woman opened it, but her expression instantly changed when she saw the military uniform. Before Maya could speak, 2 small voices echoed from inside the house. "Mom?" The room fell completely silent. If this story has touched your heart so far, don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more powerful stories about courage, family, sacrifice, and unforgettable second chances. The most emotional part of Maya's journey is only beginning. For several long seconds, no one moved. Ethan stared at the woman standing in the doorway as if he were afraid she might disappear again. Lily dropped the wooden spoon she had been holding and burst into tears. "Mommy!" she cried before racing across the room. Maya fell to her knees, wrapping both children in the tightest embrace of her life. Months of fear, loneliness, and unanswered prayers poured out in silent tears. Daniel and Grace Foster quietly stepped back, allowing the family the moment they had dreamed about for nearly a year. Once everyone had calmed down, Grace gently explained everything. When social workers had brought Ethan and Lily to them, Both children had cried every night, insisting their mother would come home because she was a soldier who always kept her promises. Many people believed the children had been abandoned, but Daniel and Grace never did. They kept every photograph, every school certificate, and every letter the children wrote to their mother, hoping one day she would return. They never tried to replace Maya. They simply protected the children until she could find them. Deeply moved, Maya thanked them through tears. The next challenge was proving the truth in court. Military investigators uncovered financial records showing the neighbor's nephew had stolen government assistance, forged signatures, ignored legal notices, and deliberately allowed the property to be seized for personal gain. Every false document unraveled under investigation. Weeks later, the courtroom overflowed with veterans, neighbors, and military officers who had learned Maya's story. The judge carefully reviewed the evidence before declaring every fraudulent action invalid. Maya's parental rights had never been legally abandoned. Full custody was immediately restored, and the man responsible was arrested on charges including fraud, theft, and forgery. But the greatest surprise came after the hearing. Reporters covering the emotional case shared Maya's story nationwide. Within days, thousands of strangers donated money to help her family rebuild. A veteran-owned construction company volunteered to build a brand-new home free of charge. Local businesses furnished every room, while neighbors planted a young oak tree in the front yard to replace the one that had been lost. At the dedication ceremony, Daniel and Grace stood beside Maya and the children, not as strangers, but as lifelong friends. Maya thanked them publicly. "You didn't take my children from me," she said. "You protected my greatest treasures until I could come home." There wasn't a dry eye in the crowd. Months later, life finally felt peaceful again. Ethan rode his bicycle across the new driveway while Lily laughed on a brand new swing hanging from another growing oak tree. Maya watched them from the front porch, grateful not only for getting her children back but for discovering that kindness still existed even after betrayal. She realized home was never just a building. A house could be destroyed, money could be stolen, and possessions could disappear, but the love between a mother and her children could survive even the darkest storm. Every evening, the family invited Daniel and Grace for dinner, celebrating the unlikely friendship that tragedy had created. Maya often looked at the folded American flag resting inside a display case near the front door. It reminded her that serving her country had always been an honor, but coming home to her children was the greatest victory of all. If this story inspired you, please subscribe to the channel, like this video, and share it with someone who believes love, courage, and hope can overcome even life's greatest hardships. More unforgettable stories are waiting for you in the next video.